Hey everyone, welcome back to Runs and Acceleration with your hosts Ruhan and Akash. So today we're going to be tackling about F1. The season's already gone started. We've had three races so far, and it's been what a whirlwind season already. We've had people who might have not been expected coming on the podium, winning races, and in a way, it's kind of for me, it's kind of felt like it's turning back the clock a little bit of Ferrari winning again. So, Ruhan, what are your thoughts? Leclerc already, what a legend.
Yeah. Listen, as a Ferrari fan, there's a lot to be excited for and a lot to be nervous about because the pressure has been so immense. And when 2020 happened and we had the cheating allegations and
Yep.
the bad performances last 2 years, it was kind of reaching the point, will they ever win again? And the comeback's just been stellar. So big props to Benotto. A lot of people doubted him. I had my doubts in him.
Yeah.
We did, but he's really shown himself to be a great leader. He's rallied the team behind him.
Yep.
Am I sure that this is the year? I don't want to say. So I came across a stat that this is Ferrari's best ever start to a season,
Yep.
104 points from the first three races.
Mhm.
Previous best was 102, but that's also because of the point system.
Yep.
But the problem is that even in Vettel's time, 2017, 2018, they had these kind of starts. It's just after that, they weren't able to keep it up.
Yep.
Right.
Mhm.
So, firstly, one thing is development. For now, Ferrari looks great. The great thing this year is the reliability of the Ferrari is better than I think any other car on the track.
Yep.
And that brings me to Red Bull, their main competitors, because what has happened to them? Like two races out of three, they're always there. And I know they have the better car. Every weekend we go and they're like, oh, Red Bull's the better car. Ferrari has to play catch up. But when it comes to the race trim, somehow the Ferrari finds an extra and Red Bull's just chasing behind. And I,
Yeah.
I don't think they need that car for chasing because something goes wrong with it.
Mhm. I actually don't think the Red Bull car is as good as people think it is. I definitely think I don't think it's the best car. I think it's up there. I think it's probably the second best car right now. The biggest thing you mentioned about reliability, I think that's where Red Bull's a little bit lacking. They had the last race in Australia, Verstappen's car kind of just canceling out basically like that, having issues. But also I think with when you looked at like the race in Saudi Arabia, Sergio Perez was basically looking to get a very, very easy podium, at least a top two finish, but then ended up, basically getting pitting at the wrong time of the safety car. So I think they've had I don't think they have the best car actually compared to Ferrari, but then they've also been quite unlucky with kind of certain situations. But for me personally, I just feel that, as you said, this is if Ferrari want to make the best out of this, I think this is their best opportunity to really
Yeah.
like stamp their authority. And I think this is where it for me this season feels a little bit different from what maybe we saw back in 2017, 2018. Why is
Right.
because you take a race like Australia. Australia is a race that Mercedes always dominates in. But let's just
Absolutely.
forget Mercedes for a second. But no one dominates. But I've really not seen a Ferrari dominate like this in some time. And getting a Grand Slam, Leclerc getting a Grand Slam in Australia is no joke. He drove the perfect
So,
race.
guys, just for reference,
Yeah.
Grand Slam or Grand Children, whatever you want to call it, is when the driver gets pole position for the race. So he
Mhm.
wins the qualifying, if you want to call it that,
Yep.
gets the fastest lap of the race, leads every single lap of the race, and wins the race.
Yeah.
The most important thing in this compared to a hat trick is leading every lap because that's the toughest thing. Even if you have a very dominant car,
Yeah.
like Verstappen did or Lewis Hamilton did last year, they don't get a lot of grand slams because eventually when you pit, there's someone behind you or your own teammates who's going to take the lead.
Yeah.
So if you get a grand slam, that means you were in such another league that even when you had a pit stop, you
Mhm.
still came out ahead of everyone else, even if they didn't pit. So
Yeah.
that's like it was amazing, and he had two safety cars, and obviously there were three DRS zones.
Mhm.
There could have been four as well. They changed the track, made it faster, and the Red Bull is the quickest in the straight line.
Yeah. Yeah, I think what's interesting is that Ferrari look to be competitive on various different kinds of tracks. You see a fast track like Australia, even though it's a city circuit, it's still like you can still it's very easy. It's still manageable, I would say, when making turns and everything like that. But when I think where I think my worry for Ferrari a little bit was kind of shown in that Saudi Arabia race. I feel that when it comes to a little bit, even though it is a even though it is a fast street circuit, it's still, I feel that that those kind of quick turns and that kind of more, how do I say, like a race, something where I feel like a race that Ferrari could struggle with is maybe like, say, somewhere in like Singapore or somewhere like that.
Okay.
I personally think if we don't know, maybe they could make improvements to the car as the season goes along, and then we could see something like that. But I really hope that I really do expect Ferrari to be competitive at at Spa. I'm not really too sure about Monza. I do expect,
No.
yeah. So that's why I see them. I see them winning in many different, very different kind of conditions, but still,
Right.
there's a little bit of a concern for me with the city, with the tight city circuits. Yeah.
And also there has been the issue that see the reason guys we are being a little bit cautious is also the way these races have been won. Ferrari's been great, but Red Bull's kind of fucked up.
Yep.
No offense, it has.
Yeah.
And Christian Horner said we'd rather build a car that's fast than reliable, and Russell just retorted that after Australia, saying there's no point if your car is the fastest if you don't even finish the
Yep.
race. And that was the golden quote of Michael Schumacher, which I always go back to, which is whenever I'm thinking about anything, it's to finish first. First, you have to finish.
Yep.
There's something a lot of drivers and commentators told Max Verstappen in his early days that we know you're a champion, but you need to finish races. You don't need to
Yep.
make foolish moves.
Mm-hmm.
So now he's in that mode, but the team isn't. And that's what's caused it. They're still third in the championship. And
Yeah.
Mercedes, who everyone made fun of, oh, finally, the dominance has ended. If you see, they've actually got 2 podiums.
Yeah.
They're just 2 podiums or what? No, they're just 1 podium behind Red Bull, but they've got more points because at least they're consistent and the drivers are
George Russell second in the championship. Yeah. George Russell second in the championship. I think that's where, when now kind of shifting gears a little bit, moving on to Mercedes, I actually think, yeah, of course, I don't think, like, no way that they're having as good of a season as what as compared to others. But I feel that where they're making up ground is through their race pace. I think the race pace is actually not as bad as people think it is. I would say the Saudi Arabia race is sort of an outlier for them. More the in Bahrain and in Australia, they had that you could see that they're able to get at least somewhere around that, from P3 to about P5, around there, which is fine. I think that's
in Australia. I think they've at some points Russell was faster than Perez.
Yeah. So I think that's going to be really interesting to look if Mercedes can sort of make a comeback. But the one thing is now I think for me now, what's going to be kind of interesting is that Mercedes now has to deal with being a midfield team, and I think now that's something that's going to be tough, almost a tough pill to swallow for. I mean, maybe for George Russell, he's not really been in this situation. Like this is probably like, he's probably feeling right now at the top of the world. I feel like there's still a little bit more that he knows because it's a Mercedes car and everything like that. But for Toto and Lewis especially, I feel that they know what it's like to dominate and really dominate, and this is something where they're going to have to now assess that their main rivals are going to be Alpine, Haas. Yeah. So I think those things are going to be really interesting. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm sorry, but Gunther Steiner versus Toto Wolff is not the battle I saw coming into this season. Like,
yeah,
I've seen so many memes about that on Instagram and stuff, and it's just so guys, we're going to cover that in our next episode. But just before we end off, right? Last point on Mercedes, which is something we've been saying even when they were dominating, is and a lot of people say this, oh, Lewis Hamilton is such a team guy. Australia was an example of him driving great, but when he had an unlucky call with the pits, I get it, you get frustrated, but he literally blamed the team that, why did you bring me in? The team didn't know there's a crash going to happen after you pit. Like, they can't predict that. And it just goes back to saying, now that he's under pressure, that there's a young rookie in the team who's basically the future. I've lost the championship last year, which if he had won, maybe things would have been even more different. So maybe having that 8 championship goal is still what's driving him more and the team to get him there. But he is feeling that pressure. He's been outscored. Russell is second. Lewis is like fifth in the championship right now.
And I also think from Lewis's perspective, he doesn't see himself at I wouldn't go at all, like I wouldn't go like that far, but I really don't see, I don't even think he thinks that he has a shot this year because of just how quick Mercedes and how quick Ferrari and Red Bull are.
But that's my point, that we always the debate of what he is as a person, and great respect to him as a champion of the sport. But when it comes to the tough decisions, I've always said this in podcast before, and I will continue to say this. When he does something great, it's he says, I really had to push, and then he thanks the team. But when it comes to anything being wrong, it's always the team's fault somehow. It's always the team's fault. So and all his remarks like, oh, I came P10, is there even a point for that? We get you dominated, but please don't underestimate the value of these points. So tricky times for Mercedes, exciting times for Ferrari. We shall see. So with that, we come to the end of this episode, guys. We're going to be doing one more, so stay tuned for that, and see you guys soon. All the best. Bye.